So let's begin to look at the Crochet Mosaic stitch blanket here, and this is using Red Heart Super Saver. You're going to be using a 5.5mm size eye crochet hook today. You're going to notice that we have stripes of yarn before we get to this mosaic particular concept, so that's something that we have to think about before we're even get to the part of the mosaic. So you're going to have all the instructions that you see here, and this is a really neat idea. So what's gonna happen is that you're going to chain 152 for that, and it's in multiples of 12 plus 8, and we're going to then be continuing the stripe pattern. So we need to get the stripe pattern, which is the darker gray here. So we need to do that first, as you see here, before proceeding to the mosaic part of the pattern. So the mosaic is where we're gonna be concentrating our work today. But remember, in this particular one, chain 3 counts as a double crochet, chain 2 at the beginning does not. So just keep that in mind, and remember the stitch multiple is 12 plus 8. Let's begin that next. So let's begin, and we are going to chain 152, or you can do the multiples of 12 plus 8. So I'm gonna do a multiple, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Is it big enough? Yes or no? If not, continue. So I'll do another one. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Once you're happy with the width of it, just add 8 more. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8, and then we're ready to begin, and we're gonna start with then the foundation row of this blanket. So going with the foundation row, we are going to go second chain from the hook, and we want to single crochet ourselves across your chain all the way back. So please do your foundation row now, single crocheting on the back hump of the chain all the way across. So now that we've done all the foundation row across, we're going to proceed in stripe as follows. Notice the 2 asterisks. The 2 asterisks will be referred to in the future. So we're going to do your C's color and your B color in order to keep bouncing between. So just follow your set of instructions to be able to do that. So rows 3 and 4 is the same as 1 and 2. So this is the instruction for 1 and 2, and then it says repeat the first to 6 rows once more. So then you're going to continue along to do that. Once you have that done, you're going to go to the next row, and then the next 2 rows, and then we're gonna proceed. Once we get the mosaic section done, then what we have to do is that we have to then begin to do the concept to coming back to the stripe. So once the mosaic's done, it says repeat these 8 rows for the mosaic pattern 3 more times. So you will have this set of instruction done a total of 4 times in your particular blanket before moving on. You're then going to proceed as follows. So once you get it done 3 more times after the first time it's done, so that's a total of 4 times, that you're going to proceed with this row all the way to the 4th, and then you're going to begin to proceed to the stripe pattern as follows. So you have your striping pattern again, and you will notice then it says repeat from the asterisk to the asterisk twice more. So then you have your asterisk, so that was all the way back over here, and you're then going to continue all the way in order to see that where the asterisk is again in the future. So if you don't know where the second asterisk, it's right here. So it says repeat from the double asterisk to the double asterisk. So from right here to right here. So you're repeating all of it with twice more, and then fasten off, and then that's something that you can concentrate on, and you can see that pretty much the edge instructions are just left. So it's just 1 single crochet across the side edge evenly, and that's just something that you have to just do in order to get it to go. And the reason why you're doing that is that you're going to be covering up over top of the strands that are dragging along the side. So let's begin your striping pattern just like you see. So just refer to your set of instructions to get that sequence that's available to you, and then we're going to continue there. So let's just start our striping just to make sure you get it, and then we'll carry on to the mosaic. So the first row of the striping pattern it says with C, so whatever color you decided to was C, so I'm just gonna say this blue one was, and it's going to be chain 3, which will count as a double crochet. So starting in the very next stitch, you need to double crochet yourself all the way across. So just 1 double crochet in each going all the way across, and this is row number 1. Okay, all the way across. Now row number 2, just chain up 1 and just do 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets going across. This is row number 2, continuing with the same color. All the way across in number 2. So rows number 3 and 4 are the same as 1 and 2, so chain up 3 and you'll just do a double crochet across, and then row number 4 is going to be just chain up 1 and 1 single crochet across, and you'll use the same color. So do now rows 3 and 4 exactly like 1 and 2 now. So I'm now at the end of row number 4. 5 and 6 are a different color, but do not trim this yarn off, and so I'm on the last stitch but I haven't finished it, and I want to take a slip knot of another color and I want to put it through and pull it through to finish that stitch. And what I'm going to do is that we need to do with the new color, we need to do rows number 1 and 2 once again, and we're gonna be accessing this other color, so just leave it holding. Now the straggler for this color, because we've just added it, I would put it up underneath the stitches and hide it in as we go. So we're going to do then rows number 1 and 2 once again, so this is technically 5 and 6, so chain up 3 using the new color and lay this down on top of the line and just double crochet yourself across. And then when you get to the other side you're gonna do row number 6, which is the single crochet coming back. So just chain 1 and do 1 single crochet in each, and then we have to then repeat rows number 1 through 6 one more time, and so I will meet you at that moment where we'll pick up this color once again and we'll be dragging this secondary color up along the side. So please do now rows 5 and 6, and I'll be right back in just a moment. So I've now just done 5 and 6, which is same as 1 and 2. So on the last stitch you don't want to finish it, you just want to leave this off to the side and grab the other yarn that we left behind, just kind of pull it snug, don't pull it too tight, and you're going to pull that yarn through so that it's carrying up on the side, and when we do the border you're gonna cover that over. So turning your work, we're going to need this again, so just leave it off to the side out of your way, and you're going to do now the same rows 1 through 6 once more, sorry. So you're gonna do the first 4 rows will be this color, and then the last 2 rows will be this color, and again you're bouncing between this double crochet and the single crochet, so it's double single double single. So do 4 rows of this color like you had before, and then 2 rows of the other color, and then you're good to go. So please now repeat rows number 1 through 6 one more time, and then we're gonna carry on into the next row after that. So I'll do that off camera, and we're gonna begin our journey to continue to the mosaic in just a few moments from now. I've done rows 1 through 6 one more time. So this is where we are. This color here I'm going to release it, so we're going to just trim this yarn and I'm going to fasten it in later, but you notice that it's not done because what I want to do is pick up this color. So for the next 2 rows, as we get ourselves established to the mosaic, we have to do 2 more rows of the striping before we then begin the mosaic concept. So just picking up this yarn here, and you could just let this other yarn just hang off to the side, just deal with it later, and now you're going to do 2 rows. So let's do our first row first, is that you're going to chain 2. Remember it does not count as a half double crochet, so just starting in the very same one that it's coming out of, I want you to half double crochet yourself all the way across. Okay, so please do that all the way across, and I'll be right back in just a moment. So this is the first time of the next row. So we're just coming to the very end, and then you're going to turn your work. So this is the second row of the next row. Okay, so it has the next row, and then next 2 rows. This is the second one. So we're going to then just chain up 1, and we're gonna single crochet into the first half double crochet, and now we're gonna we're gonna do a half double crochet front post in each of the stitches, except for the very last one we're going to put in a single. So just wrap in the hook and come into the next post, and this is gonna create a ridge, and you're gonna half double crochet front post. So then go around the post on the front side, and this is a front post half double crochet. So you're gonna use this color all the way to the end. The very last stitch will be a single crochet as I mentioned, and then we're gonna be getting rid of this color and then starting with our mosaic technique, which will go back to the diagram in just a few moments from this time. So let's begin and decide what your colors are going to be as you're doing this row next. So you're coming all the way across. Remember that this chain 2 never counted as a stitch, so your last one here, so I've gone around this post, your last one is a single crochet. This color is now technically done, so what I want to do is just fasten off. So let's just review the fastening off technique, and so I'm just going to pull this through, and I'm going to do this with all the loose ends that we have. So anytime you have a loose end that you'll want to do this with. The nice thing about carrying up the yarn is that it will get buried underneath the idea like the border as you go, but when the color completely ends you're going to want to fasten off just glide it underneath some of the stitch work. Don't change the shape of it. So just when you pull it, just make sure that it still has that same flexibility, and go back and forth underneath the stitch work a total of 3 times. So this is gonna be the 3rd time. And so I got rid of that other color, if you recall. And so I'm going to want to go back and do that. When you weave it in, make sure you stay within the same color slot. So this one here, I'm going to stay on this side and just weave it back and forth, and then we're gonna carry on. We're gonna do the next 2 rows, which is the setup row for starting the mosaic, and we're gonna be covering that next. So now that all the ends are woven in, you can see the yarn that's carrying up. Again, that'll get carried underneath. So we're now going to start with the mosaic concepts. I'm going to be changing out my colors. I really wanted the colors to really pop, so I'm gonna be using a gold as one color, and then more of a blue, another shade of blue instead. So we're going to continue then, and let's go to the diagram, because let's explain that, and we're gonna get ourselves set up. So in the diagram, see this grayed out area? These are the next 2 rows that we want to do. So we're gonna start ourselves with the color. So we're gonna carry on across and then back, and then the repeat then starts technically on row number 1 all the way through 8 in order to get through the concept. So we still need to do these 2 rows, and so you'll have to choose one or the other color in order to make that happen. So decide what color that you would like this to be, and this will be the first drop down color that you see within the pattern. Let's begin then the next row, which is number 1 of the setup. Before I go to the idea, sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place today. So what I would do if you weren't watching me is that I would mark the number of single crochets that it takes to get to the spot. So there's 8, then you chain 2, skip 2 stitches, and then there's 10 in a row. And then in order to continue the repeat, it'll be you put this 2 and then 10, and then these 2 and then 10, and etc. And then the very final 8 will be then single crochet. Let's do this row. So let's begin. We're going to then just attach it to the first one, and then chain 1 and do 1 single crochet. And remember what I just showed you, there's 8 in a row that starts it off. And so I would hide this underneath the stitch. So this is 1, and this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then you're going to then chain 2, skip 2, and then do the next 10 in a, next 10 in a row. Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then you were going to then chain 2, skip 2, and then you'll do the next 10 and then do the same thing. So you'll do that over and over and over, but when you come close to the other side of the edge that you see, you'll chain 2, skip 2, and the last 8 in a row will be your single crochet. So you just got to continue to repeat the pattern over and over, and I would count it the first time out just to make sure you get there. So there's 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and so therefore you're good to go. So let's turn our work and do the next row, which is gonna repeat back, going back. So just chain up 1 and just apply 1 single crochet in each single crochet, and when you get to the chain 2 spaces, just chain 2 and jump right over those. So I'm not counting the stitches, I don't need to in this particular row, so I know what the stitch counts are based on the last row I just did. So I just say match stitch to stitch, chain to chain when I do this concept. So there's the chain 2, so just skip over the chain 2, so chain 2 there, and then just continue to single crochet, and then chain 2 as you skip over chain 2 spaces, and do that all the way across. And then we're gonna begin the fun stuff with starting the official repeat of a mosaic. So I'm coming up all the way across, and on my last stitch that I have here is that when I pull through, I don't want to finish that stitch. I want to just grab a slip knotted one of the next color I want to use, and I'm going to let that gold just rest to the side, and I'm gonna finish this stitch with the new color that you have. And so we're officially then going to turn your work and move into row number 1 of the repeat of this pattern. So as we carry along, we're going to then just start up here. So you'll notice that there's 6 in a row, so I will mark it 6, and I'm going to then chain 2, skip these 2 single crochets, and then we're going to do a mosaic double crochet into this stitch right down here. Okay, it's easy to find. After you get that done, you're gonna chain 2, skip these 2 out, and then you'll do 1 2 3 4 5 6. So there's 6 there. And then you'll do that again. So then you'll chain 2, skip these 2, do a mosaic double crochet down here, chain 2, skip those 2, and continue that. So then you'll do 6 in a row, and then the same, and then 6 in a row, and then the same. Eventually you come to the other side, and then you'll do the final 6. Now when you go back on row number 2, which we'll cover right now, is that you just match stitch to stitch, chain for chain. So if there's a stitch, just put in a stitch, the single crochet. If there's a chain, just chain over and skip it. Single crochet into these 2 stitches, chain 2 to skip over the chain 2, and etc. So I just say match stitch to stitch to stitch, chain to chain, and let's begin rows 1 and 2. Okay, let's begin rows number 1 and 2. So just chain up 1 because I've already established it. Now I got it connected, and then you're going to single crochet in the first 6. So 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. So I would lay this down in front of me on top of my lap. Now your 6 are in, you're going to chain 2, and you were going to skip 2, and if you notice that this chain 2 spaces is right after that chain 2, so I know that I'm right. So now that I've chained 2, I'm going to do a mosaic double crochet into this stitch here. Okay, it's right below those chain 2s. So stay on the front side of the work so that this color buries in over the top. Then chain 2, skip the next 2, and single crochet the next 6. So 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, and then repeat that all over again. So chain 2, skip the next 2, and here's the chain 2 spaces, so just mosaic double crochet. I think it's just a new fancy term, to be honest with you, but it's just a double crochet in the stitches below. Chain 2 after you've done that, and then you would do the next 6, and then the same configuration, and then the next 6. But eventually the party will run out and you'll come to the end. So skipping the next 2 after this is done. So peel things back if you don't see it. So then do the final 6 of the row, and then this was technically row number 1. Like that. Then turn your work and do number 2. So just chain up 1. So just put in a stitch where there's a stitch. If there's a chain 2, just do a chain 2 and jump on over it. So match stitch to stitch, chain to chain, and I can't say that today, and that's the journey. So go across row number 2. I'll meet you back here in row number 3, and we'll review the diagram once again. Don't forget those stitches that are those mosaic double crochets that are there. I'll see you at the end of this row. Upon getting back, just do that last one, but don't finish it. Let it fall to the side, and then grab that other color, just kind of pull it a little more tighter, and then just pull through, and then the gold will then be ready, and you'll put the other color aside, turn your work, and you can see the dropping down has happened. Let's begin row number 3. Let's go to the diagram next. So let's review this. Number 3, there's 4 single crochets in a row, chain 2 to jump over these 2, and then come down and do a mosaic double crochet into these here. So you'll notice the chain 2 spaces are there. Then you're going to single crochet the next 2 single crochets, and then jump down again and do those 2, and then chain 2 to finish. So if you look at this particular concept right here, this is the repeat. In between there's going to be a total of 2. So you kind of notice, and actually when you think about it, is that there's 2 single crochets here, there's 2 here, so 2 is going to be your magic number for these single crochets going across. But eventually the party will run out. The last 4 are single crochets, and when you do then the 4 going back over, match stitch to stitch, chain to chain, and you will get yourself all the way back on row number 4. Let's start row number 3 now. Let's begin row number 3. You're just going to chain up 1 with your new color. It's just, and the color is just carrying up on the side. So this is 1 2 3 and 4. I like the diagrams right in front of me, which is not in front of me at the moment. There we go. And now you're going to then chain 2, and then jumping over these 2 single crochets, come immediately here and do your mosaic double crochet. Do those 2 in a row. Okay, then see these single crochets, you're going to want to match those. and then jumping on down again. So these chain 2 spaces tell you that you need to do that. And then after that you're going to chain 2 to create a new space for the future, skip the next 2 and single crochet the next 2 after that. Just refer to the diagram. So we're gonna repeat that same instruction again. So chain 2 to skip the next 2 and then just come on down and do a mosaic double crochet. Okay, and then single crochet the next 2 and then jump on down again. So you're noticing I'm kind of just peeling the stitches out from the back if you don't see it. And then chain 2, skip 2, and then you will just do your 2 in a row, chain 2, and then keep on that same formula going across. Eventually the party will come to the end, so you'll just chain or skip your 2 here, you'll chain your 2 and then just do your final 4. And then your return pass on number 4 is just turn your work and match stitch to stitch, chain for chain. I'll see you at the end of number 4. So just keep an eye on your stitches and your chains going across. And just finishing up number 4, just drop it, don't finish that stitch, and grab the new color up and pull it through to finish, and then we'll begin rows number 5 and 6 next. Let's begin number 5. So you got 2 in a row that you see here right at the beginning. Then you'll chain your 2 and then you'll drop on down. So you have 1 2 3 4 5 6. So you got 6 in the middle here. And then you'll drop on down, chain 2, skip over the 2 middle, and then drop on down, and then you get 6 in a row. Then on the return pass is just chain to chain, stitch to stitch, and let's begin 5 and 6. Let's begin number 5. You're going to chain up 1 and do the first 2 as single crochet, and then chain 2. Okay, and then you're skipping over these 2 and then jump on down. And now the next 6 in a row are each a single crochet. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, and then jump on down. Chain 2, skip the next 2 here, and then jump on down. Okay, and now you'll do the next 6 in a row, and then you'll jump on down like you see here, and then skip 2, chain 2, and then jump on down. So you'll be repeating that all the way across. So let's do the next 6. So 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, and then eventually you'll come to the very end of this, which I'm about to get there. So I'm just jumping on down, and then I need to chain 2, skip the next 2, and single crochet the final 2. That was row number 5. Then you're going to turn your work and do number 6. So just chain up 1, match stitch to stitch, chain for chain, going all the way back, and I'm gonna have you just change over the yarn to get ready for then row number 7 and 8. And so get your gold or whatever color you're using ready again, and I'll see you back and we'll start then number 7 and 8, which is the final of the repeat. Okay, row number 6 is complete. Ta-da! And let's go back to the diagram. And now we're gonna do 7 and 8. So you have 2 in the beginning, and then you're gonna drop down, and then you have 4 single crochets, and then 2, and then 4, and then 2. So I guess 2 and 4 is the secret to that. So this is what we're going to do, and so we're making space for the next time. So just like you see here, 7 and 8, it's very similar other than these dropping down. So just keep an eye on that. So this is the end of the repeat. So let's do 7 and 8 now. To begin row number 7, so just chain up 1 and do 1 single crochet in the first 2, and then drop on down. So the chain 2 tells us that we have to do that. Okay, so now you got 4 single crochets in a row. So starting in the next stitch, so do 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then chain 2 and skip 2 and then do the next 4 after that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you want a visual cue, see how the chain 2 is right above this? So you see that it's in line. It's perfect. Okay, so now drop on down, fill that in, and then do the next 4 in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 2, skip 2, and then just continue that all the way across. So just continue that same motion, making sure you put your chain 2s in, and then filling in those chain 2 spaces with drop down mosaic double crochets. And then your last 2 stitches are 1 single crochet each. And then finally for row number 8, which is the end of the repeat, is that you're just gonna chain 1 and match stitch to stitch, chain for chain, and we're going to continue to repeat this pattern over and over, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. And then for everybody else, that after you get those repeats done, we'll talk about what we need to do in order to carry on from that point as well. So we now just finished row number 8. So now we have to go back to rows number 1 through 8 a total of 3 more times on this particular pattern. So you're going to see that it builds up. What I like to do for myself, and I've done this in other techniques like this, is that on the last row I will put a stitch marker that's a different color, and this tells me this is rows 1 through 8. So when I go to do this again, I'll put another stitch marker so then I can see that there's 2 then sections of row 1 through 8, and it helps me keep account. So if I want to put down the project for the night, I can look at the stitch marker and kind of determine where I am in the pattern if you don't write that down, and it gives you an indication that when you see 4 sections like that, you know you're ready to move on in the pattern. So we're going to then take a look at this even further, because eventually you're gonna have to come back to doing the striping on this particular one, and you can't have holes right where they are when you get to that particular motion. So what we have to do is we have to figure out what we're gonna do from this point after you get your repeats done. So let's go back to the pattern now. So on the diagram here we got rows number 1 through 8. We have to do a total of 4 times total, but after the set of instructions you read it through once. It says repeat it 3 more times. So that's your 4 sections as we talked about. After you get that last row of number 8 done, we have to proceed to this row. So using the colors A and the colors B. So at this point we have been using A, but we've been using C for the alternative color. So we have to bring back B as we then begin the next one. So what we have to do is that we have to then finish off the next row once we're ready to go back to the striping to be a solid row, and this is what row 1 is going to do, and then we are going to start then getting ready to do the striping. Once again we are going to do the half double crochet front post in order to have the balance, and then we're going to continue to the striping, and then you'll repeat all over again. So let's go to the first row as we then make it solid. So after you get your repeats done, this is what you need to do in order to get it back to being solid. So we're just going to then do the first row. So you're just going to do 1 single crochet, and you're going to do 1 single crochet in each of the stitches that you have. We're just making it solid, and if there's a drop down, which will occur shortly, is that you're going to do your drop down mosaic double crochet. So this whole row is that we're not creating any more spaces for a drop down to occur. So you're gonna come on down and do a drop, and that basically finishes the formulation of that one at the end. So if you were to repeating this over and over, you would have noticed that it's coming down anyway, but we would have left spaces so that we can continue the pattern, but in this case we don't want to. So just fill in each of the single crochets with the single crochet and do the mosaic double crochet with the drop down as you occur over the chain 2 spaces. Please do this for row number 1. So I'm coming up to the end of the row. I'm just gonna turn, chain 1, and I'll do 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets all the way across, and then we're going to be introducing a new color at that point. So just single crochet in each stitch across. Okay, upon getting back, just take out that yarn now, and you can also trim the other yarn as well, and we're going to be switching off our colors completely. So I want you to fasten in this yarn, just hide it in with the tapestry needle like I showed you, and we're going to then proceed to the next 2 rows before we then officially start the striping. Row number 3, you're just going to attach just like that, and we're going to chain 2. It will not count as a stitch, and just half double crochet in each one of the stitches going all the way across. You've done this before. We're going to do it again right now. So please half double crochet all the way across. So I officially came all the way across with my half double crochets. I'm gonna turn my work, chain up one single crochet in the first one, and then the next one I start doing my front post half double crochets like I had been before. You will know if you were right because it creates a ridge, and the ridge then should be on the same side. So see how the ridge is facing up here? It should be facing up there. So you know that it's right. If for whatever reason it's wrong and you're not on the right side, what I would think about doing, which don't tell the designer, but I would think about doing a back post double crochet if you happen to be on the wrong side, and then that will put the ridge on the side that you can see. So that's something that you can consider doing. You can always fake it or make it, right? So let's go all the way across with this front post half double crochet. The last stitch is a single crochet, and we're gonna talk about the striping when we get back in just a moment. Remember, when we get all the way back, the first stitch here, the chain 2 did not count as a stitch, so the last stitch here is technically right here. Okay, so don't accidentally put an extra stitch, and the last stitch is a single crochet. So this is kind of what it looks like at this time. So obviously my sample is a little bit more of a smaller sample, but let's go back to the pattern. Let's talk about the repeat, and then we're gonna talk about the bordering after that. So in the pattern we're right here. So you're going to do rows number 1 through 12, follow the color sequence, okay, and follow the instructions for the rows. So you'll see the first 2 are giving you that indication. So it's a double crochet row, single crochet rows, you know, and just follow the colors, and you can carry the colors up on the side. So it's color C and B. So once you get these 12 rows done, you're gonna go back then to here, and you're still continuing to do the stripe formation. So if you really look at this blanket, do you see that this striping formation right here? It's the same that is appearing here. So that's why it's having you, so you're doing the first 12 rows, and then this looks identical, which is the same thing. So that's what you want to do. So you're going to repeat all of this in order to get it to go, and then you'll do your mosaics again. So once you have this particular striping all the way done to this moment right here, you're just gonna continue to repeat and repeat, repeat. So the very other side of the blanket looks like the opposite to what is here. So when you get all of that done, so if you look at the instruction here, repeat asterisk to the asterisk, the doubles, you're going to finish off so the last rows look just like that. So that's why there's a difference. So it's not having you to put this back in in order to have these big striping in between the sections. So it's a really neat idea. Eventually you're going to want to do the side edging. So you want to block it out if you can. So just kind of dampen it, lay it flat to dry, or leave a damp cloth over top or a towel, and then you can do this. Then with the right side facing, you're going to slip stitch in the corner and then work one single crochet evenly across the edge, and you'll repeat that for the other side. So you're not going to touch anything on the tops or the bottoms, but you're only just going to run it through the side. So let's just quickly show you that, and we'll be doing that in just a moment. So let's talk about doing then the side edging. So choose the color that you think is best, and you're just going to want to attach into a corner. So just with a slip stitch, and you're going to equally space out single crochets. So don't stay within the gap here, just go right into the chain and just kind of eye it out and just equally space it as it going up. So if you notice that the blanket is starting to pull and collapse, it means that you're going too fast, and if it's starting to ruffle out on you, it means that you're going too slow. So the equally spacing it just takes a little bit of practice. I've been crocheting a long time. So when the yarns are being carried up over top, you're gonna go right and secure those underneath the stitch work. That's why you can carry them up, so that they're gonna be buried. So see, this yarn is being carried, so just go up so it scoops it right up underneath that stitch. And that's why you're able to do that without having to trim your yarn. And you'll do that with anything that you have. So all the colors are always changing on the one side of the blanket, so the other side you won't have anything like that to worry about. And you're just gonna single crochet yourself, and you'll do both edges, and then this idea is pretty much complete. Now there is fringing, and so the fringing, it consists of doing cut A, B, and C to 16-inch lengths, and then you take the strand of each of the colors and then fold them in half and do your fringe. So just remember it's about 16 inches. We have videos on fringe just in case you need to review that. Also there is a picture diagram available to you on the sample itself. So continue to make sure that you cover over top of the strands that are being carried, and therefore they can be nice and hidden in position like this. And so this would be then how you would do this particular one, and then you can just block it and then you're good to go. And then this is a new concept. So this is a Crochet Mosaic Stitch Blanket by Yarnspirations.com.